Am Captain. What else? Master. Y'all went to the last stanza. Okay, let's look for the rest of the poem, guys. 4 stanzas of something. Something is there. We're missing some stuff. And welcome back to The Angry Teacher. I'm Richard Williams, The Angry Teacher, and today I'm going to teach you how to teach poetry. Hang around, we gonna learn today. Alrighty, talk to me. What do you think it means? So here is where I'm going to be showing you guys how I teach. Let me take this off. How I teach poetry. First of all, I go ahead and every kid, he normally gets a poetry sheet. And I try to do that because I like when they annotate. I like when they stomp around in the text, according to Anatole Broyard, who says, you know, the best way to annotate and interpret a text, to comprehend it, is to stomp around in it. And that's what I have my kids do. So I give them the sheet, and then, and this is all under the premise that we've already discussed: how to number the lines of a poem, how to do the rhyme scheme, how to look at the different things. I preface all of that by going over some notes, and we discuss how these things work, right? And then now when we're actually working on a poem, I give them a sheet that has the poet's background on one side of the sheet, and then it has the actual poem on the next. And so after that, I have them look at the title and, well, no, let me back up a little bit. I have them break up the reading. Now, this poem, this example that we're going to use today is William Henley's Invictus. And I'd ask the kids, I think it's like, 4 stanzas. I'd have the kids choose to read out, whichever, volunteer to read. And so the first one would read the title and the name, and then I'll stop them right there. I shut them down. I said, guys, come on. I need you to tell me what's going on. What do you think is this poem is going to be about? What do we expect from it? And then they go ahead and share out anything about the title that they may or may not know, questions they have. And then once we do that for about a minute or so, I ask them, what do you know about the writer? Is there anything that may give us some insight to the poem? And if they have something to say about that too, then I'll take it. That's another minute or so, and we kind of talk about it. After we do that, we wait to see if, as we go through the poem, is it going to enlighten us about the title or anything about the poet. So we leave that alone for them. And then the person who started reading continues. They read the first stanza. Then somebody jumps in with the second and third and so on. So that's how I have them do the reading as students. Then I will follow up with my reading. So they hear the intonations, they hear the pauses, they hear the usage of the punctuation, the pronunciation of words. They hear all of that, and so they get a second reading of the poem, and they pay attention to how it's read and what's being said. At that point, I stop them, and then they annotate and read the poem silently. No one can speak at this point in the class. No one can speak during a poetry analysis, especially when they're doing it by themselves. By all means, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the little notification bell for the next Angry Teacher video, because you know it will be dope. They are quietly marking it up. They're circling words they don't know. They're putting smiley faces by lines they like, frowny faces by lines they don't. Question marks. They're agreeing. They're writing stuff in the margin. This reminds me of, or I can do this, or whatever little things that come to their minds based on what they're reading. They write it down on the page. They highlight in the different colors. Some of the students go ahead and do that. I don't interrupt them. That's for about 5 minutes. It goes on for about 5 minutes or so. And then when they're done with that, we convene as a class, and then we rip this thing apart. We break it down. So we have, here's my chart. I go to the whiteboard. Now that we're in this COVID situation, I'm doing a PowerPoint chart, but it's the same concept. I would go to the whiteboard and I would draw a literary devices, column, themes, tone, symbols, motifs, and structure and style. It's all right here. Now this is already completed, and I apologize, the one I wanted wouldn't open up, so we're using an already completed one. So we go through, and I give them a packet at the beginning of the year. It's like a booklet of all the literary devices that they're going to run into. And so they're looking at the literary devices packet. They have that all in front of them while they're interacting with the text and they're talking to me in class. So I'd ask them, what literary devices do they find? And then they're going to start shouting out their answers to me. With that said, they have to be able to justify it. So just because you think that there's a simile doesn't mean that there has to be a simile. So you have to tell me what it is, and the class will all decide, is that truly a simile? All right. So we're not talking about significance right now. We're just trying to identify things in the poem. Now, here's a tip. Every poem, and Harry jumped. Well, this one has it too. Every poem has 4 literary devices. Okay, that's just a tip for those of you who teach poetry. There's visual imagery, well, usually imagery, but normally it's visual imagery. There are others, but visual seems to stand out. Symbolism, metaphor, and situational irony. Those are the big 4. And everything else is like cake, all right? Extra stuff, I see. All right, so we go over the literary devices, and they have to substantiate it when they give it to me. If they don't, it doesn't make the chart. It doesn't make the board. I don't put it on there, all right? Then we go into symbols. We go downward, and they tell me what the different symbols are, what they found, what it could represent, and then they have to justify it if we have enough time. If not, the symbols, because we go into another activity later that deals with that. Then we look at I leave themes for last. Since kids usually get theme more, it's the last thing in the story and the poem and all that stuff, they usually eat that up quicker than all the other elements. So I leave it for last, so if we run out of time, it wouldn't be a problem. Motifs, they go into that, and we talk about what reoccurring idea keeps coming up, and they bring that to light. Tone is another thing that we discuss. What is the poet trying to get us to, how is he trying to get us to feel, what's going on here? And then they give me answers for that. Style and structure, that's kind of a little bit difficult for them, but I tell them, tell me what it physically looks like, or what the content, how the content plays out from top to bottom, from bottom to top of the poem. What does the structure of the content, what does the structure of the actual physical poem look like? And then we do that. Takes about maybe 20-30 minutes, and we're done. But I don't finish with the poem there. Let me show you something else. We go into another part of my poetry lesson. What is bludgeonings, by the way? Somebody look it up. Dictionary.com. Bludgeonings. Read it for me, please. There you go. A bloody beating, to be beat upside the head. All right. A minute. Sorry about that. Let's see here, and it is here. They always have questions based on what they're reading. And let me get myself out of the way. And I give them snazzy titles, whatever I can come up with, so that they remember it, or when they see it in the gradebook, they know exactly what it is, instead of just putting poetry questions or whatever. It's specific to a specific poem. And I give them choices. I might have 8 questions. They choose 3 or 4 or 2, whatever. Sometimes I'll have only 4 questions. They can choose 3, so they feel like they still have a little bit of control. All right. So in any case, after we've broken down that chart, then we kind of discuss it. Why would this be important? How does this happen? Is the poet saying such and such, and blah blah blah? And then after all of that class discussion, then I give them their assignment. It might turn out to be something for homework, or the rest of the class, they're working on these questions, and they have to answer in the paragraph for each of these. So they're elaborating in short responses to the same poem that we just broke apart, and we just ripped to shreds and analyzed the crap out of it, right? But it doesn't end there. After the assignment... Who just answered? I'm sorry. Albert, what'd you say? What type? Situational irony. Thank you. Okay, somebody's a little bit loud there. All right, we're missing two things that every poem has. After the assignment, I then, in a couple, every 3 or 4 weeks, I give an open binder exam. I'll talk about how that works in another video. But an open binder exam where it takes the entire week. Yeah, you heard me, an entire week. In the beginning of the week, there is the multiple choice section. So they're bubbling, and it's so long because we've covered several poems, writings, we look at literary devices, whatever type, it is, what's the word? It runs the gamut of everything that we've done since the beginning of that period of time. So in the beginning of the year, all the stuff we go over, and then if it's later in the year, it's the stuff from the last exam that we did. Everything between that time that we covered, it is all going to be on the exam. So then, but they're doing their multiple choice, they're looking for answers in their binders, and so they're working and finding the same poem and the same questions again. So they're going over them again. At the end of the multiple choice section, first part of the week, they have an essay on everything we've read from the last exam or from the beginning of the year. So they're still writing. Now this is a whole full-blown essay, no more short responses. Now I give you I give you a choice of theses that you have to choose, and you're responding to it in one longer writing, in an essay. So at the end of the whole experience, you have internalized this poem to the point where some of these poems become their favorites, or some of these short stories or novels, whatever we're reading, become some of your favorites because we've worked with them so much. And imagine a short story and or novel or play, they're longer. So you'll internalize these, and you'll, chances are, try to remember these for as long as you can, as long as you have a memory, as long as you live, because we've worked with them. Let's recap. We break down, we read, they read the poem first initially. They do the first cold read. Then I follow up with the read. That's 2 things already. Then third, we make our chart. We break the poem apart. We rip it to shreds, and we analyze the crap out of it. And then they have questions that they answer based on the poem, whatever. And we've discussed it, so it should be easier for them to do. All right. After they've done that, then they have their multiple choice essay. Okay, they have a chance to, and it's the multiple choice is obviously not just for that one poem, that one work, but it's in there. So they'll have this sense of, oh yeah, I remember this, and they can go back to their notes, the chart that we did, and answer those questions. So there's 5 things so far. And then lastly, the essay. 6 ways to rip this poem apart, to teach them poetry, to let them be a part of the poetic experience. And that's just one poem. So, and I do give a lot of poems, and so it becomes a habit of theirs to on how to interpret poetic works. Okay, so let me know in the comments down below how you teach poetry, if these tips help, or this strategy works. If it's not intense enough, or if it's too intense, let me know in the comments below, and we'll have a conversation. All right? Teachers Lounge is up next, and as usual, you know I got some dope kids. Check them out. Thanks for coming to class today. I need you to go out there and be great. Hey, let's go out there and teach.